Assalamu alaikum. Let's begin with a new chapter on fluid dynamics. We are already familiar with the first law of thermodynamics, that is, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Let's talk about energy possessed by liquid in motion. There are three forms of energies: kinetic energy, pressure energy, and potential energy. The kinetic energy possessed by a body of mass m moving with velocity v, it is given by half mv square. As we know, head is energy per unit weight. So kinetic head can be calculated as kinetic energy per unit weight, where weight is mg. So simplifying the expression, cancel out. We are left with the expression that kinetic head is v square over 2g. Its units are meter in SI and feet in FPS. The units are same as that of height. Now in real fluids in motion, the velocity of different particles will usually not be same. So it is necessary to integrate all portion of the stream to obtain true value of kinetic energy. So here we are going to introduce a new factor alpha, and using the mean velocity value v, we will get kinetic head as alpha v square over 2g. When we are taking ideal fluids, we consider alpha equal to 1. Potential energy of a fluid particle depends on its elevation above any arbitrary datum plane. As we know, potential energy is given by mgz. Let's calculate the potential head, which is a ratio of potential energy to weight. Weight is given by mg. So mg cancel out and we are left with z. So potential head or elevation head is given by z, which is the distance of a liquid particle from any reference plane. As we are familiar that the pressure possessed by a particle inside the liquid, it is given by rho g h, where h is the head or the pressure head. So if we simply rearrange the expression, the pressure head can be calculated as pressure over rho g, where rho g being gamma, the specific weight. So pressure head is given by P over gamma. The sum of these three energy head, kinetic head, potential head and pressure head, is known as total energy head. Now if you look at this box on the right bottom corner, Z being the elevation head, P over gamma being the pressure head, and V square over 2G is the velocity head or kinetic head. So sum of these three head is known as total energy head, which is given or measured by pitot tube. Z plus P over gamma, that is the potential and pressure head, it is known as static head, which is measured using piezometric tube, and it is thus also known as piezometric head. So you can also say the total energy head is summation of static head and velocity head. Let's learn about equation for liquid in motion. For that we have to consider Newton's second law of motion, which is force is equal to mass into acceleration. The following forces are present in a liquid flow in motion: the gravity force Fg, pressure force Fp, force due to viscosity Fv, force due to turbulence Ft, and force due to compressibility Fc. So now if we are considering the liquid flow in the x direction, to check equilibrium, we will be taking summation of all the forces in the x direction. So Fx is Fg plus Fp plus Fv plus Ft plus Fc, all in the x direction. So as we know, liquid is incompressible, or we can ignore its compressibility. So considering all the remaining forces, we will end up with Reynolds equation of motion. Now if turbulence is also ignored, that is, we are considering laminar flow and streamline flow. So in that case, we will end up with Navier-Stokes equation. Now if the fluid is assumed to be ideal, that is non-viscous, in that case the only two forces under consideration will be gravity force and pressure force, and we will develop Euler equation of motion. Let's see derivation for Euler equation of motion. For that, consider a cylindrical element of cross section dA and length ds having a streamline flow in the direction of flow as S direction. So the forces which will be acting on the cylindrical element are the pressure forces and gravity forces as previously discussed. So now if you look at the bottom face of the cylinder, so pressure force, it will be pressure into area. The cross sectional area is dA, so P into dA. So this pressure force, it is directed towards the area. And as you know, pressure force is always normal to or perpendicular to the area, and it will be directed into the area. So this component, this force, pressure force PdA, is in the same direction as the direction of flow. While on the other face, on the top face of this cylinder, the pressure force, it is in opposite direction to the direction of flow. This is because the pressure force, it is normal to the top face and it will be directed into the area. Thus, it is in opposite direction as that of the pressure force on the bottom face. Now the weight component, it will be acting vertically downward. And as you know, weight is specific weight into volume. Specific weight is rho g and volume is area into the length of the element. So dA into ds. Let's define this angle theta. It is an angle between the direction of fluid flow and the line of action of weight of the fluid element. So the weight, this weight acting vertically downward, it makes an angle theta with the normal axis of the element. If you look over here on the right side, so length of the element is ds and the vertical distance covered by the movement of the element is given by dz. So as the fluid is in motion, so we have to consider the Newton's second law of motion, which states that net force over the fluid element in the direction of S is mass of the fluid element into acceleration in the S direction. So F in the forces in the S direction is equal to mass into acceleration in the S direction. The left hand side of this equation represents summation of forces in the S direction, while the right hand side, this is mass into acceleration, as mass is density into volume and volume is cross sectional area dA into length of the element ds. Now pressure force on this bottom face, it is in the direction of flow, it will be considered as positive. So this pressure force PdA, it is represented with a positive sign. As the pressure force on the opposite face, on the top face, as we are considering in the direction of flow, the pressure increases. And as we know, the pressure is depending on more than one dimension for the change. So we are considering that the pressure change in the S direction, in the flow direction, it is positive, and we have to represent it using partial derivative. So pressure increases in the direction of flow by partial P over partial S into ds. So pressure change on this top face is given by P plus partial P over partial S into ds. And in order to convert it to pressure force, we will have to multiply it by cross-sectional area dA. And it is directed opposite to the direction of flow. So we will be using a negative sign with it. Now we will have to resolve this weight which is acting vertically downward into its two components. One of its component is parallel to the direction of flow but directed in the opposite direction, and that component will be the cos component. Minus, because it is opposite to the direction of flow, minus rho g dA ds, which is weight. As weight is specific weight into volume, specific weight is density into gravitational acceleration, rho g into volume, which is dA into ds, cos theta. The cos theta component is parallel to the direction of flow but directed in the opposite direction. Thus we have used negative sign with it. Now acceleration in the direction of S, it can be represented as change of velocity to change of time. So dv over dt. As we know, velocity is a function of distance and time. So in order to represent the velocity change because of both of these variables, we will be using partial derivatives. So it will be partial v over partial s into ds over dt plus partial v over partial t. Now here if you look, ds over dt, it can be replaced by v. And now if we are considering steady flow condition, so partial v over partial t is equal to 0. So we are left with the expression for acceleration as equal to v into partial v over partial s. And if you look at this diagram, cos theta will be dz over ds. So now let's expand the equation just formed, opening up the brackets. So minus pressure into dA minus PdA minus plus minus, so minus partial P over partial S ds into dA. So this PdA will cancel out with this minus PdA. Now if we replace the value of as and cos theta as computed previously, it is dz over ds, and as is velocity v into partial v over partial s. Now divide the expression by rho dA ds. So simplifying, we will get this expression minus partial p over rho partial s minus g dz over ds is equal to v partial v over partial s. Now if we multiply this equation by ds, we can simplify it like this, minus partial p over rho minus g into dz is equal to v partial v, and if we take it to the left hand side, it will be with the negative sign, and on the right hand side we will have 0. So if we simply multiply the equation by minus, we will get all the term with the positive sign. So this remaining equation formed, partial p over rho plus g dz plus v into partial v is equal to 0. This equation is known as Euler equation of motion. We can derive Bernoulli's equation by simply integrating the Euler equation of motion. So from the first term, we had rho on the denominator of pressure. As it is constant, so we can take it outside of the integral, and integral dp will be p. So we get this first term p over rho plus integral g dz, as g is also constant, so we can take it outside of the integral, and integral dz is z. So we get plus gz. Now integral v dv, it will be v square over 2. So this is equal to constant. Now if we simply divide this expression by g, we will get p over rho g. Rho g is specific weight, and we can use both the symbol w or gamma to represent specific weight. Plus, so g will cancel out, we will get z over here, and plus v square over 2g. Now if you look at this equation, p over gamma, pressure over specific weight, is pressure head, z is the elevation head, and v square over 2g is kinetic head. So Bernoulli's equation states the sum of three energy heads should be equal to constant. Or you can say, if we consider two sections in a pie, so sum of energies should remain constant at both the sections. So at first section, it is P1 over gamma 1 plus Z1 plus V1 square over 2G is equal to P2 over gamma 2 plus Z2 plus V2 square over 2G. Following are the assumptions in derivation of Bernoulli's equation. The fluid is considered to be non-viscous, thus the friction losses will be 0. The fluid is homogeneous and incompressible. Fluid flow is steady, continuous and along the streamline. Fluid flow velocity is uniform over the cross section, and only gravity forces and pressure forces are under consideration. Let's see some practical applications of Bernoulli's equation with the help of these three discharge measuring devices, that is Venturi meter, orifice meter and pitot tube. Please look at the figure on the right in which we have a Venturi meter. If we consider two sections, one at the initial diameter of the pipe and other at the reduced area, and if we write the Bernoulli's equation in the form of energy per unit volume, so the sum of energy before and after should remain same. Now from the continuity equation we know area and velocity are inversely proportional. With the reduction in area, the velocity is increased. And if we consider a datum line, that is any reference line, and from that the distance till the center line of the pipe for both the section is same, thus the potential energy at both section is same. So the only change would occur in the kinetic energy and pressure energy. So as the particles, as they're passing through the reduced area, their velocity has increased, so their kinetic energy has increased. So in order to keep the sum of energy constant, the pressure energy has to be reduced. Venturi meter is a device used for measuring rate of flow, that is discharge, of a fluid flowing through a pipe. It consists of three parts: a short converging part, a throat and a diverging part. So let's see the expression for rate of flow through Venturi meter. For that we will be considering two sections, one at the inlet or the initial diameter D1. The pressure at this section is P1 and its velocity is V1. And at section 2 it is considered at the throat. Its area is reduced area A2, diameter D2, pressure is P2 and velocity V2. We have connected a piezometric tube at these two sections, and the rise of liquid in the piezometric tube is actually the pressure head. If we consider any datum, any reference plane, uh, it should be horizontal, and from that fixed reference plane the distance till the center of pipe till section 1, this actually represents its elevation head. Similarly, the distance till the center of the pipe at the throat, this is the elevation for the section 2, and this Z1 and Z2 are actually equal, and the rise from the center of this pipe till the rise of liquid in the piezometric tube, this is actually the pressure head P1 over gamma. Similarly, for the section 2, the rise in the second piezometric tube, it is P2 over gamma. As we know, the area 2 is reduced, is lesser, so the pressure will also be lesser, and that is also reflected in the figure, that the pressure head P2 over gamma is lower as compared to P1 over gamma, and the level difference of rise of liquid in the two piezometric tube is given by H. So H is basically the level difference of the pressure head P1 over gamma minus P2 over gamma. Now apply Bernoulli's equation at section 1 and 2, that is the sum of three energy head is equal. So the pressure head P1 over rho g plus V1 square over 2g, the velocity head and elevation head Z1 is equal to P2 over rho g plus V2 square over 2g plus Z2. As the pipe is horizontal, so Z1 is equal to Z2, so it cancel out, and this is the remaining form of equation. Now if we rearrange it by taking P2 over rho g to the left hand side, we will get P1 minus P2 over rho g equal to V2 square over 2g minus V1 square over 2g. And as we know, the level difference of pressure head is H. So replace it in this above equation. We will get H is equal to V2 square over 2g minus V1 square over 2g, which is the difference in velocity head. Now let's make use of the continuity equation, that is A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. Now if we rearrange it for V1, we will get V1 is equal to A2 V2 divided by A1, and substitute the value of V1 in this above equation. Now replacing the value of V1 in this equation and simplifying it by taking V2 square over 2g outside of brackets, we will get 1 minus A2 square over A1 square. And now rearranging it for V2 square, we will get the equation in this form. Now take the square root for V2, and as you can look over here, this A1 square, it can be taken out of the square root. So we have this final form of the expression. So discharge is actually area into velocity. So as we have developed equation for V2, so we will have to multiply it by A2 to get the discharge. So the discharge expression is A1 V1 divided by under root A1 square minus A2 square multiplied by under root 2gh. So even if you are calculating discharge for the inlet pipe, the equation will remain the same. You can also do it yourself by taking in a similar manner by developing an expression for V1, and then for discharge it will be A1 V1. You will end up with the same equation. So this expression for discharge, this is actually theoretical discharge, and actual discharge is always less than theoretical discharge. CD is a coefficient of discharge, which is a ratio of actual discharge to theoretical discharge. So actual discharge becomes CD into coefficient of discharge. This coefficient of discharge is actually, it will take into account the losses due to friction, turbulence, eddies formation, and it has to be calibrated for each instrument, and its value is always less than 1. As previously discussed, we had attached two piezometer tubes to Venturi meter, and level difference of pressure head in piezometer tube, that is H, it was the only observation required for discharge measurement through a Venturi meter. Since the area of the inlet and the throat A1, A2, they are already known, so they are constant for an instrument. So let's see the difference in the discharge measurement if we attach a differential U2 manometer instead of piezometer tubes. If you look at this diagram, we have attached a differential U2 manometer at section 1 and 2. And the first case is when a heavier manometric fluid as compared to the flowing fluid is used for as a U2 manometric fluid. So why is the level difference in the manometric fluid? Let's define some terms. SH, the specific gravity of heavier manometric fluid, for example mercury, it is 13.6 times heavier than water, and S0 is a specific gravity of liquid flowing through the pipe. Since S0 is lighter than SH, so let's write the pressure equation. So we will begin with the section 1. Starting from the center of the pipe, the pressure is P1. As we go downward, the pressure increases, so plus, and the density of this fluid is gamma naught, and the distance or height covered is x plus h. So we will get the left hand side of this equation. Now for the section 2, the pressure till center is P2. As we go downward, the pressure increases, the density is gamma naught, and height covered is x. Again, we go downward for the manometric fluid, the density is gamma h and height covered is y. Now at these two ends, the datum, the pressure is equal, so we can equate the left and right hand side of this equation. Now as you can see, the gamma naught x from the left hand side cancels the gamma naught x of the right hand side. And if we take this P2 to left hand side, we will get P1 minus P2, and taking y outside, we will get in brackets gamma h minus gamma naught. Now divide this term by gamma naught. And the left hand side of this equation, P1 over gamma naught minus P2 over gamma naught, this is actually the pressure head difference, which is H. And rearranging this expression, we will have H is equal to Y gamma H over gamma naught minus 1. Now, in order to write this expression in the form of specific gravity, we have to divide both the numerator and denominator by gamma W, since the specific gravity is the ratio of specific weight of the liquid to a specific weight of water. So we will be dividing it by gamma W. So we will get H is Y bracket SH, the specific gravity of heavier manometric fluid over the specific gravity of the liquid flowing in the pipe minus 1. Now what if a lighter manometric fluid is used? In that case, if you see, uh, uh, for example, if we have oil used as a manometric fluid, its specific gravity is 0.7 and the flowing fluid is water. So it is lighter, so their ratio 0.7 over 1 minus 1, it will become negative. So we have to reverse this order. We will be using the expression 1 minus SL over S naught, so that our H will remain positive. Let's see the second case, when an inclined venturimeter is attached with a differential manometer. Now remember the discharge expression which we have determined earlier for an horizontal venturimeter, it is also valid for inclined venturimeter. So let's see, look at this diagram. A differential manometer is attached at two sections 1 and 2 to an inclined venturimeter, and the distance from the center of the pipe at section 1 till this datum xx is z1, and from the center of the pipe at section 2 till the datum is z2, and the level difference of manometric fluid in two limbs is y. So let's write the pressure equation starting from the section 1. At the center, the pressure is P1. As we go downward, the pressure increases. The specific weight of this fluid is gamma naught and the distance covered is Z1. So we get this left hand side of this equation. And for the section 2, the pressure at the center is P2 and the pressure increases. The distance covered is Z2 minus Y and the density or the specific weight of the fluid is gamma naught. So plus gamma H, the specific weight of this manometric fluid, and the height covered is Y. So from here we have the right hand side of this equation. Now rearrange this expression, take P2 to the left hand side and divide both sides by gamma naught. As this gamma naught Z1 will go to the right hand side, and we have divided both sides by gamma naught, so it will be cancel out, and if you rearrange it you will end up with this form. Further you can take Z1 to Z1 and Z2 to left hand side in such form that P1 over gamma naught plus Z1 minus P2 over gamma naught plus Z2. As we know, the H, that was actually the level difference of pressure head, or you can also say it is a level difference of static head. So if you are incorporating the elevation head difference as well, so H will actually accommodate the elevation change for an inclined venturimeter as well. So the discharge expression will remain exactly same. So once you have that, you can convert, relate the y, the observation through a differential manometer. You can relate y with h, that h is equal to y sh over s naught minus 1. As previously discussed, for a lighter manometric fluid, the expression will be 1 minus SL over S naught, where SL is the specific gravity of a lighter manometric fluid. Orifice meter, also known as orifice plate, is a device used for measuring rate of flow of fluid through a pipe. It is a cheaper device as compared to Venturi meter, and it works on the same principle as that of Venturi meter. It consists of a flat circular plate which has a circular sharp edge hole called orifice, which is concentric with the pipe. If you look at the figure, these blue plates which are inserted inside the pipe, they are known as orifice plate. They are actually inserted in order to reduce the area available for the fluid, thus creating an opening or hole which is known as orifice. This opening, the orifice diameter, is generally kept 0.5 times the diameter of pipe, though it may vary from 0.4 to 0.8 times the pipe diameter. Now in this figure we have attached a differential manometer at section 1. At this section 1, the streamlines have completely filled the pipe diameter. All the streamlines are parallel to each other, and it can be located at a distance of about 1.5 to 2 times the pipe diameter from the orifice plate. Now the streamlines, they can actually sense the presence of orifice plate, and they will then try to converge themselves so that they can pass the orifice plate. Now the streamlines which were initially traveling parallel, they will converge themselves so that they can pass through this opening, and due to inertia they will continue to converge. Okay, the streamline which were initially they were flowing parallel to each other, they will try to now converge so that they can pass through this opening, and due to inertia they will continue to converge even after they have passed the opening, and they will reach a section where the diameter of the flow is less than the diameter of this orifice plate. This section is known as vena contracta, and we have attached the other end of differential manometer to this section. Later on, the streamline, they will then diverge and they will reach a section where they again completely fill the pipe diameter. The vena contracta, it can be located at a distance of about half time the diameter of orifice. So apply Bernoulli's equation at two sections, that is the sum of pressure head, kinetic head and elevation head is equal at two sections. Now if you rearrange the expression in this form, you can see the left hand side of this expression is actually equal to static differential head H, and if you replace it in this above equation, you can also say that H is velocity head difference V2 square over 2g minus V1 square over 2g, and if you rearrange this expression you will get this V2 is equal to under root 2gh plus V1 square. Now C sub C is actually coefficient of contraction. Coefficient of contraction is a ratio of area at vena contracta to area of orifice. So as we have considered the section 2 at vena contracta, so its area is A2 and the area of orifice is A0. So C sub C is equal to A2 over A0. Now using a continuity equation, A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2, replacing the value of A2, that is equal to A0 C sub C. Now replace this value of V1 in the earlier obtained expression for V2, and simply simplify it and rearrange it. You will finally end up with this expression for V2 square, and then take the square root and you have the expression for velocity V2. Now in order to find out the discharge, as we have obtained V2 velocity, so we'll have to multiply it by area A2. Now as we know, A2 is A0 C sub C. So we can further substitute the relationship available for orifice plate for the coefficient of discharge and coefficient of contraction as given over here. You can also remember this expression as discharge is area into velocity. So coefficient of discharge C sub D is equal to coefficient of contraction C sub C into coefficient of velocity. And if you will see, then this expression, this is actually familiar with the velocity expression. So if you replace the value of CD and try to find out the actual discharge, which is CD into theoretical discharge, you will finally end up with this expression. Actual discharge is CD into A0 A1 into under root 2gh divided by under root A1 square minus A0 square. where A naught is the area of orifice and A1 is the area of pipe. Now, if you look, this formula is same as that we have used in Venturi meter. Just the difference is that in that we had to consider area of the pipe A1 and A2 was the area of throat. Pitot tube is a device used for measuring velocity of flow at a point in a pipe or in open channel. It is based on the principle that if the velocity of flow at a point becomes zero, the pressure there is increased due to conversion of kinetic energy into pressure energy. In its simplest form, pitot tube consists of a glass tube bent at right angle. If you look at the figure below, a right angle bent pitot tube is inserted inside an open channel. The lower end, which is bent through 90 degree, is directed in the upstream direction. This arrowhead, this actually represents the direction of flow. The liquid rises in the tube due to conversion of kinetic energy into pressure energy, and the velocity is determined by measuring rise of liquid in the tube. Now consider 2 points 1 and 2 which are at same level in such a way that point 2 is just at the inlet of the pitot tube and point 1 is far away from the tube. So the particle at point 1, they possess all three form of energies: pressure energy, kinetic energy and potential energy, while the particle at section 2, they actually upon entering the pitot tube, their motion is restricted. Due to that restriction, the kinetic energy will be converted to pressure energy because sum of energy has to remain constant. Now apply Bernoulli's equation at point 1 and 2, that is the sum of pressure head, velocity head and elevation head is equal at both the points. Now we have considered the point 1 and 2 at same elevation, so Z1 is equal to Z2, so they cancel out, and the particle upon entering the pitot tube at section 2, the velocity is restricted, so V2 is equal to 0. As we know, pressure at a depth from the water surface is given by rho gh. So if we simply rearrange it, so pressure over rho g is the pressure head. And if we define capital H as a distance from the water surface till the point 1, it is a capital H, while small h is the distance from the water surface to the rise of liquid in the pitot tube. So pressure head at section 1, P1 over rho g is capital H, while the pressure head at section 2, P2 over rho g is capital H plus small h. You can also check it from here that a particle at the point 2, its energy, all this kinetic energy has converted to pressure energy, and we know that 2 points along a horizontal line have same pressure. So if we go inside the pitot tube till this corner, so pressure will be same. So rise of liquid, or you can say the distance from the rise of liquid till this corner represents the pressure head at section 2. So it is capital H plus small h. So replacing the value in this above equation, capital H cancel out and we get V1 square over 2g is equal to h small h, rearranging for V1 and then taking square root, we get V1 is under root 2gh, which is a theoretical velocity measured through pitot tube. So for actual velocity, we will use coefficient of velocity. Coefficient of velocity is a ratio of actual velocity to theoretical velocity. So actual velocity is CV into V theoretical. So we get CV under root 2gh. Now a pitot tube and piezometric tube and differential manometer, they can be combined together and they can have different arrangement. Now in the first figure on the left top, we have a pitot tube and a piezometric tube. Both are connected to one pipe, and the elevation difference of liquid in the two tubes H, that actually represents a velocity head. Then in this figure, a pitot tube is connected with a piezometric tube. So they are actually joined together, but they are not filled with any other fluid. So they are simply two fluids which are joined together with the H representing the velocity head. Then in this figure, The pitot tube is connected with a piezometric tube, and then it is also connected with a differential manometer, where this dark black color liquid is actually the manometric fluid, and this X is the level difference in the manometric fluid. Then over here, a pitot static tube is connected to a differential manometer. A pitot static tube is actually two circular concentric tube, in which one tube is inserted inside the other. And the outer tube, it acts like a piezometric tube, and the inside tube acts like a pitot tube. We're going to make a discussion on that later on.